Okay, so in this video I'm going to demonstrate a couple of different ways that you can make your sort of simple drum beat that you might have a little bit more interesting through some more alternative ways of sequencing and capturing sequencing using some Max for Live devices. Okay, so what I have here is I have one MIDI track with a drum kit on it, and I have a clip there, and you'll see that it's quite an extensive clip, but what I've done is I've kind of captured a loop that I like. It's a 2-bar loop and it sounds like this. And that's my loop. So what I want to do is create some variations to that to make it a little bit more sort of dynamic, a bit more interesting. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go over here, and I can see I've got all these categories down here. Now this is, I'm going to select the Max for Live. So this will only work if you have Max for Live installed with your Ableton Live software. And if you do have it installed, these will be some of the things that come with it. There are many Max for Live packs and devices available for free. But these are some of the ones that come with it. I will be looking at one that you can get separately in a moment. So here we click on Max MIDI effect. We go down to Max MidiShuffler. So I'm going to click that, double click it, and you can see it's installed there. And so now if I press play, nothing's changed. So this hasn't done anything yet. But essentially what this does is it's kind of like a sequencer, a step sequencer that you can automatically reorganize the steps randomly or to a specific kind of sequence. You can sort of drag them where you want them to be, or of course you can reset them to what they originally were. So this is a way of getting variations out of your existing sequence that you might have. So I've got this. All right, so the first thing I want to do is work out, well, it's 2 bars, so I want to have 16 steps for that to work. So if I press play, you can see down the bottom left. I actually want 16th notes as well. And if I dice this, okay, so you can see I'm creating variations just by pressing this dice button, which is randomly reorganizing the steps. Now, I'm going to keep pressing it a few times until I find something that I'm kind of like. Sometimes you have to go further than you like. Okay, that's a bit of variation. And let's say I like that. What I want to do is I'm thinking I want the original part plus this variation happening together. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create another version of this track. I'm going to get rid of the shuffler on the second one. Oops, by deleting it. And so now we have 2 different tracks that have the same instrument on them. I'm going to rename that one Drums 2. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to select the MIDI in on this Drums 2 track, the new one, from Drums 1. So I'm going to capture the MIDI that this has created. I'm going to record enable. And now if I press record here on the clip slot, then I have a loop of that variation. And you hear I'm getting a bit of phasing because I've got the 2 tracks playing together. But what I want to do now is go back to Drums 1 and reset that to what it originally was. now I've got a variation. So I might go, okay, I want to play around with some other variations. Perhaps I kind of try again. Yep, that one's cool. So I might record another one. Duplicate that. Let's call this one drums 3. And I'm going to get rid of the clip there. And I'm just going to go the MIDI in from drums 1. Yep, that's right. And I'll record enable that. So here we go. So now we've got that. And if I've got the other variation as well. And the original version. So back to reset. Perhaps I pan them a little bit. Although you won't hear that because it's a mono recording, so there's not much point in it for me. So now I've got some variation to that drum beat, which is okay. But there's many ways to do this. So what I also can do is use a different type of device. So one other device that you will find useful that is Max for Live is the Max for Live BuildingTools. Now this is actually quite a pack of, as you can see down here, it says 138 Max devices and 104 presets. So it's about 100 meg to download. It's free if you have Max for Live. Or it's free to download, and then you need to have Max for Live and Ableton installed to use it. So you can download that, and I've already downloaded that. So I'm going to go there, and I'm going to open it up, and I'm going to install it. So I'm just going to double click on that, and that's going to give me a whole bunch of extra things to play with now. And one of the things I'm going to use is, if I just go to Max for Live, I've got MidiShuffler, that's the thing I was just using. I'm going to use a thing called the StepEcho. So I'm going to get rid of MidiShuffler for now. I'm going to use the StepEcho here. And let's see what happens when I press play. Okay. So that's sounding pretty out of control. So let's just run through a few things here. So if I go like, if I make it sort of like one step, so the steps here, there's no echoes. But if I change it, it starts echoing basically at the rates down here, or the minimum and the maximum. So at the moment they're set to milliseconds, so that's why things sound a bit out of time. So I can select the time. So I might sort of, pick 16th notes as the options, or I might sort of go, let's say, what was it, minimum and maximum. So let's go with 4 to 16, and we've got 3 steps. So let's see what that sounds like. And it's almost a similar thing. It's kind of like a delay. Which you could use, but the thing is it's a little bit more involved than that, because if I press transpose, now what is actually happening is it's taking that pattern with those delays and actually putting it through the other parts of the kit. So we're hearing a bunch of sounds that we wouldn't be hearing, that we're not hearing in the standard beat that I've got. So if I move that around with the transpose button, there's quite a lot of variation there. So that's just with the steps set to 3. So that's the amount of repeats. The transpose, I'm moving around. And the minimum and maximum values, I'm going from 4th notes to 16th notes. Now you can also play around with the milliseconds, but you have to sort of play around a little bit more with the feel of things. So let's say if I do this, if I play it, now I'm going to move this thing around. trying to find milliseconds that have a certain groove to them. I'm just raising the maximum slowly. Effectively adding a certain kind of swing. Now I'm going to change the minimum. So there's obviously a lot of different sounds going on there, and I wouldn't necessarily want all of those sounds. So if I play, perhaps don't want the ride cymbal. If I turn that off, that's what we had originally, and with this effect now, it has much more of a groove to it. And if I want to, I can capture that, so I can duplicate this track. I'll get the StepEcho off this one that I'm duplicating, get rid of that clip. I'll rename it to drums 2. I'll set the input from drums 1 and set it to record. So I want to capture some of that, so here we go. Now that has captured that into a MIDI track, and you'll see, look at all those extra MIDI notes down there. And it's captured them exactly as it was playing. So now I've got that variation that I like. And so perhaps what I want to do is create, you know, a different variation. So what I could do is I could actually do this in just a different clip slot. Perhaps what I do is I'm going to duplicate that clip. I'm going to record one here, but I'm going to change something around. So if I play this, I'll keep the feel because I like that, but I'm going to change the transposition so we're going to hear some different sounds. That's quite good. All right, so I'm going to record this. So I'll go this. So now I've got that. Now I'll go back to the original. And perhaps what I want to do is I could use some follow actions to go between these two variations. So I could select this clip up here, follow action. I could go after 2 bars, play any clip, and yeah, that's all I need to do, and I need to do that for both of them. Any clip. So what's going to happen now is that the clips in drums 2, where the variations are just going to keep cycling between each other at random. So now we get some subtle variations there. And so if we didn't want to get, any of the phasing, well, you would just really get rid of the first track into cycle between these two. So now we've got a much groovier version of that beat with some variations. And just to remember where we've come from, so the first thing sounded like this. So fairly kind of straight ahead. But just using some of those techniques, you can generate some really interesting ideas. So that was using Max StepEcho, which is part of the, I believe, Max for Live BuildingTools, which you can find at this URL here. PAX Max for Live BuildingTools. I'll put the link in the description so you can find it easily. But yes, that comes with heaps of other building tools as well, but they're just the two that I've chosen to use there. Of course, you could use this also on something more like an arpeggiated sequence going through chord tones or going through a melody to get some different effects. You could use it for ambient music, and it's just a way of generating some different ideas that you can interact with and add to your arrangements, so to create a little bit more sort of interest throughout the parts. Okay. Thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoy the video.